In addition to Number One, USS Enterprise First Officer Una Chin Riley, being placed on trial in the second episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. Starfleet as a whole is also put to the test. The Strange New World Season 1 cliffhanger, in which Number One was jailed for lying on her Starfleet application about being a genetically enhanced Illyrian, is resolved in Ad Astra per Aspera. The episode makes the trial judges reconsider their prior presumptions and brings into question Starfleet's ban on augments. Even though they are unable to properly study the augment prohibition itself, Starfleet ultimately defends its principles and decides that Una should be allowed to stay. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 2, Ad Astra per Aspera, follows in the tradition of the other Star Trek courtroom episodes that came before it, by focusing most of its time on the trial itself. When Una was a young Illyrian disguising her identity from the United Federation of Planets while growing up in a Federation colony in the Volterra Nebula, she tells her story with much emotion. Nira Kettle, a friend of Una's and a lawyer, appeals to Starfleet to choose their more compassionate rules over their stricter ones. Strange New Worlds, as Astra per Aspera concludes with Una exactly where she belongs, as first officer aboard the USS Enterprise. Despite the fact that the trial raises several issues with Starfleet's regulations and its ban on augments, Nira mentions Admiral Robert April, Number One's previous captain, and Christopher Pike, her present captain, as part of her defense of Una. She pursues April in particular with vigor, questioning a number of his prior choices that contravene the Prime Directive, the most essential rule of Starfleet. When it is shown at trial that Pike learned about Una's Illyrian ancestry 4 months prior to her imprisonment, his character is brought into doubt. All of Nira's alleged charges, in the end, serve to underscore a crucial point. Starfleet officials occasionally need to deviate from the letter of the law in order to make choices. Nira utilizes one of Starfleet's most compassionate policies to guarantee that Una can stay in Starfleet, despite her doubts about the organization. Nira gives the judges an opportunity to maintain their rules, while also adhering to Starfleet's principles. By portraying Una's tale as that of a persecuted asylum applicant, she utilizes the trial as an opportunity to highlight the discrimination present in the prohibition, rather than turning it into a battle to overturn the ban on augments. Regardless of its objectives, the genetic modification prohibition resulted in persecution and prejudice, which is in direct opposition to everything Starfleet stands for. In order to provide the Starfleet judges a choice that would save Una, Nira utilizes her expertise as a civil rights attorney to explain this situation. Everyone in the room seems to experience relief and even excitement when Nira pulls out the Starfleet codebook and requests Captain Battle to recite Starfleet Code 8514. When the code is read, everyone in the courtroom starts to realize that Nira's motives are clear, because it is stated in the legislation that any Starfleet captain may provide sanctuary to anyone who are escaping persecution. In closing, Nira makes a plea. Years ago, the principals of Starfleet summoned a young girl from the distant reaches of the galaxy to duty. Go within and find those principles. The Starfleet judges understand that even though they must respect the augment prohibition, Una has been a model Starfleet officer and shouldn't be penalized for being human. Starfleet's principles are something Una genuinely believes in, and Ad Astra per Aspera supports her convictions. The majority of Starfleet personnel really try to make the morally upright decisions, despite the organization having rules and procedures that may appear to be unfair. The very finest Starfleet officers know that sometimes the right choice is not to follow the rules strictly, but to make a judgment based on empathy. In regards to the outcome of Una's trial, empathy and compassion prevail in the end, and everyone seemed satisfied with the decision, possibly with the exception of Vice Admiral Pasek. The song Ad Astra per Aspera from Star Trek Strange New Worlds confirms that Starfleet values the finest that mankind has to offer. Please share your thoughts in the space provided below. Please click like if you like the video. If you watch the channel, there are more breakdowns accessible. We are grateful for your time and consideration as usual.